right, guys, sorry. Again, the video's cut off after 15 minutes. I have to make a new one. So let's just pick up where we left off. So we were looking at number 12, and we were working on writing an equation in slope-intercept from a graph. Okay, so again, our slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b, and our two values that we're looking for are our m, which is our slope, and our b, which is our y-intercept. Okay, so we had identified that the y-intercept, or our b value, is wherever that line crosses the y-axis. So here I made a red dot. It looks like it crosses the y-axis at -2. So my b value, or my y-intercept, is -2. Now our m value, all right, is our rise over our run. So for me, it's easiest to highlight 2 points that I know cross through the line, all right? And then I like to count my rise over my run. So from one point to the next here, it looks like I have to go up 2 for my rise, and it looks like I have to go left 2 for my run. So up 2 would be +2, left is -2, so it looks like my slope is 2 over -2. Now, we always want to make sure we simplify this fraction. So 2 over -2 is, if we divide top and bottom by 2, is 1 over -1, which I'm just going to simplify as -1. Okay, so now I have my b value and I have my m value. I need to plug it into the equation. All right, so I'm going to write that up here. Okay, I'm just going to erase this top slope so I have some room to write it. And my final equation would be y equals -1x minus 2. All right, so again, I'm just going to kind of go through what we did for 11 and 12. We want to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So again, we look for that y-intercept first, wherever that line crosses the y-axis, that is our b value. We count from point to point to find our slope, so whatever our rise over run is. We take those two values, we plug them into our y equals mx plus b, and that is our final answer. All right, I hope that makes sense for you guys. Let's move on. All right, so now I'm going to have you stop and just try number 13 on your own. So quick explanation. They give you the graph here, and you need to identify which equation represents the line shown. So again, identify your m, identify your b, and then give me an answer for which equation represents that line. And I'm going to let you guys do that now. All right. Now we're going to move on to writing slope-intercept from tables. And this is the last part of today's lesson. I know it's kind of a long lesson, but this is the last part, I promise. Okay, so up until now, we've worked with finding the rate of change from a table, right? So if you guys remember, our m is our change in y over our change in x, and we go down our tables. So our change in y here is +2 every time. And our change in x is +1 every time. So I would write that as a fraction. Change in y over change in x is 2 over 1. Okay, now the new part for today is this b value and then writing the equation in slope-intercept form. All right, so our b value is always where our x is equal to 0. I said that in the beginning of our notes, okay, but this is where it's very important. So from a table, you always want to find where x is equal to 0, and your y-intercept is the corresponding y value. So in this case, our b is going to be 7. All right, now the two most important values are our m and our b. We want to plug those into our equation. So this equation becomes y equals 2 over 1x plus 7. If you want to write it as just 2x plus 7, that is totally fine. Either way is correct. All right, so let's try one more, okay? The m, finding the m is a review. So we go down, we find our change in y. Here, it looks like it's -3 every time. Okay. Our x looks like it's +1 every time. We're adding 1. All right, so our slope, change in y over change in x. In this case, it's -3 over +1. Okay. Now we need to find our b value. So again, our b value is wherever x is equal to 0 on our table, and our b value is the corresponding y. So in this case, that would be -4. And I want to take my m, take my b, and write it in slope-intercept form. So my equation would be y equals -3 over 1x minus 4. And again, if you want to write -3 over 1 as just -3, that is fine too. All right, let's look at our last example together. Okay, so our m is still change in y over change in x. So let's go down our table. It looks like our y is changing by +4 every time, and our x is +1. All right, so that means my m is 4 over 1, or you can write it as 4. All right, but now when I go to look for my b value, notice how there is no 0 here on the x. All right, so I don't have a value where x is equal to 0. But using the pattern, I could find one here. Okay, so if I wanted to input a 0 up here for x, right, that would be -1 on my table. Okay, so I'm going in the opposite direction. How could I find the corresponding y value? Well, if my y is changing by +4 every time, in order to work backwards, I could subtract 4 from -17, which would give me -21. Now I have a corresponding y value for where x is equal to 0. That would be -21. Okay, so for number 3, the tricky part here was we had to add in an x value of 0, so go backwards on our table, which means we had to subtract 4. All right, now I have my m and I have my b, and I can plug those into the equation. 4 over 1x minus 21. Okay, and that is the last part of slope-intercept that we are doing for today. All right, so the last thing that you guys need to do is on your own here, I want you to identify the m, identify the b, and the equation in Edpuzzle for me. All right, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and we will be working more with slope-intercept tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.